What if the real reason you feel stuck isn't because you're lazy, but because you're distracted by things that don't matter? In a world that rewards speed and noise, we rarely stop to ask, am I spending my time, or simply wasting it? This isn't about doing more, it's about doing what actually moves your life forward. Every minute you spend comparing yourself to others is a minute stolen from becoming who you're meant to be. While you're busy watching someone else's highlight reel, your own masterpiece is sitting unfinished. What if the most powerful version of you is already waiting, hidden behind the habits, distractions, and doubt you haven't let go of yet? The strongest people aren't the loudest, they're the ones who build in silence, grow in discipline, and win by staying focused. If you've ever felt like you're meant for more but don't know where to start, you're in the right place. Because today, we're breaking down the 6 Stoic principles that will help you reclaim your time, sharpen your focus, and finally become the person you've always known you could be. Let me ask you something that might change the way you see every moment. How valuable is your time, truly? Not just on a clock or calendar, but in the context of your entire life? Time is the most precious currency we will ever hold, and yet it's the one we most often spend without thought. You can always make more money, build new relationships, or restart a failed career. But time, once it's gone forever. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't offer refunds. It moves quietly forward, whether or not we choose to keep pace. And here's the hidden tragedy. Many of us don't lose time doing nothing. We lose it by doing everything, for everyone else. We live in a world where it's almost second nature to worry about what others are doing. We scroll through endless feeds of curated success, feel pressure to meet invisible expectations, and allow the noise of others' lives to drown out the quiet call of our own. We're constantly peeking into someone else's window while our own house remains unbuilt. But here's the truth that Stoicism boldly puts in front of us. You are not here to live someone else's life. You are here to build your own. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and one of the great minds of Stoic philosophy, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This quote is more than a beautiful arrangement of words. It's a call to return to yourself. It reminds you that you are not a victim of circumstance. You are the master of your own perspective, the gatekeeper of your own peace, and the architect of your own growth. Think about how often we surrender that power. We give our energy to gossip, to opinions, to people who don't walk our path or carry our burdens. We spend hours analyzing someone else's success, feeling behind because of their highlight reel, without ever questioning why we're watching instead of walking. Each of those moments, tiny and seemingly harmless, chips away at our focus, our purpose, and ultimately, our life. The Stoics teach us that life is brief. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And he was right. We often confuse motion with meaning. We're busy, but not fulfilled, connected, but not present, surrounded, yet profoundly distracted from ourselves. This video, this journey, is not just about reclaiming your time. It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about stepping away from the exhausting treadmill of comparison, noise, and distraction, and stepping into a life that feels intentional, grounded, and centered on what truly matters. But this isn't a motivational speech that tells you to hustle harder or block out the world entirely. No, this is a deeper kind of wisdom, a reminder that the power to create a meaningful life begins not by doing more, but by focusing better, not by controlling everything, but by choosing what deserves your attention. Every single day, you receive 24 hours. That's 1.440 minutes. And how many of those are truly spent becoming who you're meant to be? How many are wasted reliving past conversations, worrying about other people's opinions, or trying to live up to expectations that don't even belong to you? When you become aware of your time as a sacred resource, you begin to treat it differently. You become more discerning about who you give it to. You become more intentional about where you place your focus. You stop giving it to those who do not respect it, and most importantly, you stop spending it on thoughts that rob you of peace. This isn't easy at first. The world conditions us to care, sometimes excessively, about what others think. It rewards attention-seeking over self-awareness. But the path of the Stoic is not the popular one, it's the powerful one. It is the path of quiet strength, of choosing depth over drama, silence over reaction, growth over gossip. So if you've been feeling scattered, distracted, or depleted lately, you're not alone. But you also don't have to stay that way. You have within you the ability to shift direction today. You have the power to stop pouring your precious energy into the lives of others and redirect it into your own. That is not selfish. That is sacred. When you begin to focus on your mind, your habits, your choices, something incredible happens. You start to feel grounded. You feel clearer. You stop needing external validation because your confidence is built from within. The world doesn't change, but your response to it does. You move from being reactive to being intentional, from being controlled to becoming the one in control. And here's the beauty. You don't need to have everything figured out to begin. You only need to choose one moment, this moment, and decide that your time is worth honoring. Because it is. In the chapters that follow, we will dive deep into the 6 Stoic principles that can radically shift how you spend your time, how you see yourself, and how you build a life that reflects your highest values, not someone else's. You'll learn how to escape the trap of comparison, how to embrace progress without the weight of perfection, how to protect your energy from distractions, and how to finally place yourself at the center of your own life. But before we begin, I want to invite you to do one thing right now. Leave a comment below with the words, "I focus on myself and stop wasting my time." Make it your declaration. Let it be the first brick in the foundation of your new mindset. Because from this moment on, your time is no longer up for grabs. It belongs to you, and the way you use it will define the life you live. Principle 1. The dangers of comparison. Have you ever felt a wave of inadequacy after scrolling through someone else's perfect life on social media? Or caught yourself thinking, "I should be further along by now," when you hear about someone else's success? You're not alone, and you're not weak for feeling that way. But you are being robbed. Robbed of your peace, your clarity, and most dangerously, your time. Comparison is one of the most deceptive thieves of our modern lives. It doesn't arrive with warning lights or sound alarms. It creeps in quietly, disguised as motivation, curiosity, or inspiration, but left unchecked, It becomes a silent assassin of your self-worth and progress. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once warned us with sharp clarity. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. This sentence, though centuries old, cuts through today's chaos like a blade. It reminds us, there's no value in debating someone else's standard of a good life. Good success, good character. The only life you're responsible for, the only life you can truly shape, is your own. Yet, day after day, we unconsciously measure ourselves against others. We observe their accomplishments, bodies, wealth, relationships, and milestones, as though their path should mirror ours. But that's the fundamental illusion of comparison. It pretends we're on the same racetrack, with the same shoes, same weather, same starting line, and that is never true. Every person you compare yourself to has a different story, a different set of challenges, resources, timing, and inner battles. You might be comparing your day 1 to their year 10, and in doing so, you forget the uniqueness of your own journey. You stop nurturing your own growth, because your eyes are too busy watching someone else's garden bloom. But here's the truth. No one else's path is a roadmap for yours. The Stoics believed that personal development begins not with external observation but with inner clarity. The question isn't, how do I measure up to them, but rather, am I living according to my own potential and values? That shift in perspective is life-changing. Let's take a powerful real-life example, Oprah Winfrey. When she began her career in broadcasting, she didn't fit the mold. She was criticized for her appearance, her style, even her emotional expressiveness. She wasn't what the television industry expected or wanted at the time. She could have looked around at her competitors, polished anchors with textbook delivery, and doubted herself. She could have copied them, trying to blend in. But instead, she focused inward. Oprah chose to harness her unique qualities, her empathy, her curiosity, her warmth, and turned them into her greatest strengths. She didn't waste time comparing herself to others who walked a different path. She doubled down on being herself. And through that, she didn't just find success, she redefined what success looked like in her field. The Oprah Winfrey Show wasn't just a talk show. It became a vehicle for healing, storytelling, and global transformation. What would have happened if Oprah had spent her early career trying to be someone else? How much brilliance would the world have lost? How much of her own time and potential would have been wasted? Now turn that lens inward. How much of your own potential remains untapped because you're busy looking sideways instead of forward? How much energy are you bleeding by measuring your progress against someone else's story? Comparison makes us forget who we are. It plants the seed of doubt, waters it with insecurity, and soon we find ourselves chasing someone else's life, wondering why it never feels right. But there's a different way. The Stoics taught that self-awareness is the bedrock of a fulfilled and ethical life. You cannot grow what you do not know. If you don't take the time to deeply understand who you are, your values, your strengths, your weaknesses, you'll always be chasing a moving target. But when you know yourself, you stop needing to prove anything to anyone else. You start playing your own game. Self-awareness isn't a destination. It's a daily discipline. It's waking up and asking, what matters to me today? It's setting goals not based on trends or peer pressure, but on personal alignment. It's being able to say, I am enough, not because I'm better than others, but because I am fully myself. That's where confidence is born, not from likes, promotions, or compliments, but from consistency in becoming the person you were meant to be. And that brings us to the second silent danger of comparison: validation addiction. When we rely on others to tell us we're worthy, we become prisoners of opinion. Every win feels hollow unless someone else notices. Every move is second-guessed for fear of judgment. We begin to live for applause, not fulfillment. But confidence built on inner growth? That's untouchable. When you cultivate your own path, step by step, and celebrate even the smallest of victories, you no longer need permission to feel proud. You don't need to look left or right. You just keep moving forward. This is why focusing on your own development isn't just good advice, it's urgent. Every moment spent comparing is a moment not spent building. And life is short. The more you allow comparison to dominate your mind, the less space you have for creativity, purpose, and peace. So how do you escape this trap? 1. Become ruthlessly self-aware. Journal, reflect, ask hard questions. What are your strengths? What triggers insecurity in you, and why? The more you understand yourself, the less you'll chase what doesn't belong to you. 2. Set your own definition of success. Don't let society or social media write your script. What brings you fulfillment? What kind of life do you want to build? Let your answers become your compass. 3. Celebrate small, personal wins. Progress isn't always loud. Sometimes it's getting out of bed when you didn't feel like it. Sometimes it's saying no when you used to say yes. These are not minor, they're monumental. Own them. 4. Limit comparison triggers. If certain people or platforms always leave you feeling less than, it's okay to mute, unfollow, or step away. Curate your environment like your life depends on it, because in many ways, it does. 5. Remember, the only person you need to surpass is who you were yesterday. In the end, life is not a race. It's a garden. Your growth won't look like anyone else's, and it shouldn't. Some bloom early, others take time, but all have beauty when nurtured with patience, clarity, and self-respect. So the next time you catch yourself slipping into comparison, pause, breathe, and remember Marcus Aurelius's wisdom. Be the good man. Don't argue about it, become it. Comparison distracts, self-awareness realigns, and focusing on your own path, consistently and courageously, is the most liberating act of all. You are not here to outshine others. You are here to shine by being you. Principle 2. Embracing progress over perfection. Have you ever told yourself, I'll start when I'm ready? Or, it has to be perfect before I begin? If so, you've already felt the invisible weight of perfectionism. A weight that doesn't push you forward but quietly holds you back. The pursuit of perfection is one of the most paralyzing traps we can fall into. On the surface, it looks like ambition. It masks itself as high standards or discipline. But dig deeper, and you'll find it's often rooted in fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. And the irony? That very fear keeps us from ever truly progressing. Stoic wisdom offers us a powerful antidote. Progress matters more than perfection. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca didn't write about becoming flawless human beings. They wrote about becoming better human beings, day by day, decision by decision. They understood that the journey of self-mastery isn't about arriving at some unreachable ideal. It's about showing up, especially when it's hard, messy, or uncertain. Progress, no matter how small, is a sacred act of courage. Too often, people delay their goals, dreams, or changes because they don't feel ready. They imagine a version of themselves that is more capable, more confident, more perfect, someday. But someday rarely comes. What comes instead is regret. That's why embracing progress is so vital. It breaks the illusion that we need to be perfect to be worthy of beginning. Let's be clear. Perfectionism is not the same as striving for excellence. One is driven by fear of failure. The other is fueled by purpose. Perfectionism waits. Excellence moves. And movement, even imperfect movement, is what creates real growth. One of the biggest barriers to progress is the constant stream of negative self-talk. That quiet inner critic whispers, "I'm not good enough. I'll mess this up. Others are better than me." Left unchallenged, these thoughts become mental chains. But Stoicism teaches us that our minds, when disciplined, are our greatest source of strength. The Roman philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This includes how we react to our own thoughts. When a negative thought arises, you don't have to accept it as truth. You can observe it, challenge it, and replace it. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," try, "I can learn and improve." Instead of, "I always fail," shift to, "I've struggled, but I'm growing." Progress begins with changing the way you speak to yourself. It also requires you to let go of the past. Many of us carry around emotional baggage, past failures, mistakes, missed opportunities. These memories become internal roadblocks, quietly whispering, "Don't try again, you'll just fail like before." But the Stoics remind us that the past is not our prison unless we make it one. What happened cannot be changed. What you choose to do now, that's where your power lies. Forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, isn't about erasing the past, it's about freeing yourself from its grip. Let go, not because it didn't matter, but because your future matters more. One woman who embodied this principle in a remarkable way is J.K. Rowling. Before the world knew her as the best-selling author of the Harry Potter series, she was a struggling single mother battling depression, poverty, and rejection. She was turned down by multiple publishers. The odds were stacked against her. And yet, she wrote. She didn't wait to become perfect. She didn't wait for the ideal moment. She made progress, one page, one chapter, one submission at a time. What kept her going? A mindset of gratitude and discipline. Despite her hardships, Rowling focused on the one thing she could control, her effort. She nurtured her craft, practiced persistence, and believed, however faintly, that her story deserved to be told. Her success wasn't overnight, it was the result of small, consistent actions rooted in faith and resilience. Her journey is a reminder to us all. Progress may not feel glamorous, but it's always powerful. But here's the part we often overlook: progress isn't linear. There will be setbacks, detours, slow days, even moments where you feel like you've gone backwards. That's normal. Growth isn't a straight line, it's a spiral. You may revisit old struggles, but from a higher level of awareness. You're not stuck, you're being shaped. This is why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation is emotional, it fluctuates. Discipline is foundational, it holds steady. It's what carries you forward when the excitement fades. Picture a student preparing for an exam. On the first day, they're motivated, but by the 5th or 10th, that spark may fade. It's the habit of sitting down, studying, showing up, day after day, that makes the difference, not the mood they're in. Discipline doesn't demand perfection, it demands presence, the willingness to keep showing up even when you don't feel like it. And alongside discipline stands another underrated ally: patience. In a world of instant gratification, patience feels outdated, but nothing truly meaningful grows overnight. A tree takes years to bear fruit. Muscles take months to build. Healing takes time, so does success. Stoics understood this. They lived in a world where patience wasn't optional, it was essential. They didn't look for quick wins, they looked for lasting character. Progress, then, is a practice. It's choosing to wake up and do your best today. Not perfectly, but intentionally. It's saying, I'll write one paragraph, even if it's rough. I'll take a 10-minute walk, even if I don't feel like working out. I'll speak up in the meeting, even if I'm nervous. Each of these moments is a brick in the foundation of your future. And when you step back and look at the structure you're building, slowly, steadily, imperfectly, you realize something extraordinary. You've grown. You didn't need to be perfect. You only needed to persist. So let this principle sink in deeply. You are allowed to be a work in progress and a masterpiece at the same time. You are allowed to stumble and still move forward. You are allowed to outgrow who you were without shame. Progress, not perfection, is what makes you unstoppable. To embrace this, build your life on habits that support your vision. Surround yourself with people who encourage growth, not perfection. Seek experiences that stretch you. Be gentle with yourself. Be patient with your path. And above all, keep going. Because every step matters. Every moment of effort counts. The Stoic path is not about arriving. It's about becoming. And becoming, you'll find, is the most meaningful journey of all. Principle 3. Rejecting distractions. Imagine for a moment that you wake up tomorrow morning and find an extra 24 hours added to your life. A full day, gifted to you. No obligations, no interruptions, just time, clean, fresh, unclaimed. What would you do with it? Now, take a step back and realize this. You already receive that gift every single day. Each morning, life gives you 24 golden hours, 1.440 minutes, 86.400 seconds. The real question isn't whether you have time. It's how much of it are you actually using with intention? Because in our modern world, time is rarely taken from us by force. It's stolen in silence, minute by minute, by distractions we've grown too comfortable with. The Stoic philosophers understood that time is our most precious, non-renewable resource. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic thinker, wrote in Meditations, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This isn't meant to frighten, it's meant to focus. When you understand that every second is a one-time gift, you begin to guard it with the seriousness it deserves. And yet, today's world offers countless temptations that pull us away from what matters. Let's name them for what they are: time thieves. Social media, with its endless scroll and manufactured comparison. Constant email notifications, demanding immediate responses. Pointless gossip or shallow conversations that go nowhere. Mindless YouTube rabbit holes, binge watching, and procrastination masked as productivity. These aren't inherently evil, but left unchecked, they quietly devour the time that could have been used to build, grow, or heal. Distraction doesn't always scream, it whispers. It says, just one more video, just 5 more minutes, or, you can do it later. But later rarely comes. And soon, a week is gone, then a month, then a year. If you're not vigilant, you don't just waste time, you waste yourself. The Stoic solution? Intentional living. To live intentionally means to treat your time with the same respect you'd give your money, your health, or your deepest relationships, because time is your life. Every choice you make with your time is a vote for the person you're becoming. So how do you begin rejecting distractions? 1. Recognize distractions for what they truly are. First, you must identify them. Many distractions don't feel dangerous. That's why they're so seductive. You don't notice the cost until it accumulates, until you realize hours, days, even years have gone by chasing what never mattered. Write them down, track them, be honest with yourself. What habits consistently pull you away from what matters most? Who or what repeatedly consumes your attention without adding value? You cannot remove what you refuse to acknowledge. 2. Set boundaries to protect your mental space. Stoicism teaches us that what we allow into our minds shapes our character. If your attention is constantly hijacked, your peace and purpose will soon follow. That's why setting boundaries isn't rude, it's essential. Learning to say no is not rejection of others. It's protection of your priorities. Say no to unnecessary meetings. Say no to conversations that drain you. Say no to habits that serve distraction rather than direction. One of the greatest acts of self-respect is to protect your schedule like it's sacred, because it is. 3. Be ruthless with your digital environment. Let's address one of the biggest culprits, technology. The average person checks their phone over 90 times a day. We scroll through social media for hours, only to feel empty afterward. And the worst part? Most of this is done unconsciously. The apps are designed to hook your attention. They're not neutral platforms. They are precision-crafted systems engineered to steal your focus. But you can take back control. Turn off non-essential notifications. Move addictive apps off your home screen, or delete them entirely for a season. Schedule specific times to check your email or messages. Don't let them interrupt your day. Use technology on your terms, not as a default mode of escape. 4. Trade volume for value. Many people confuse being busy with being productive, but Stoic wisdom asks a different question. Are you doing what truly matters? The point is not to fill every moment with tasks. The point is to make every task meaningful. Cut out shallow tasks in favor of deep work. Choose depth over distraction. When you sit down to work, don't multitask. Give one thing your full attention. 1 hour of focused work is more valuable than 4 hours of scattered effort. Time management isn't just about organization. It's about intention. 5. Surround yourself with people who value time. Your environment doesn't just shape your habits. It reflects your standards. If you spend time around people who waste their own time, who gossip, complain, or procrastinate, you will mirror their energy. But if you surround yourself with those who respect their time, who live with purpose, who challenge you to grow, you rise with them. Choose company that inspires clarity, not chaos. Epictetus, another great Stoic, once said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." That includes how they treat your time. If someone constantly interrupts, distracts, or disrespects your boundaries, they are not honoring the life you're trying to build. 6. Let go of internal distractions. It's not just external noise that distracts us. Sometimes, the loudest distractions come from within. Fear, doubt, perfectionism, overthinking. These inner distractions can be more dangerous than any phone notification because they live rent-free in our minds. But the Stoics remind us, we are not our thoughts. We can observe them, question them, and direct them. Meditation, journaling, and solitude are tools to regain internal focus. They allow you to return to yourself, your values, your purpose, your why. When your inner world is calm, the outer chaos loses its grip. Ultimately, rejecting distraction is not just about managing time, it's about mastering your life. Every time you eliminate a distraction, you create space for clarity, for creativity, for connection. You reclaim pieces of yourself that were scattered across meaningless tasks and attention traps. You rediscover what matters. And when you begin to treat your time as a sacred, non-renewable gift, something shifts. You walk differently. You choose differently. You live with more presence, more purpose. That's not productivity. That's dignity. So ask yourself, what distractions am I allowing in that do not serve my growth? What boundaries must I set this week? What will I say no to, so I can say yes to what truly matters? Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you seek tranquility, do less, or more accurately, do what's essential, because most of what we say and do is not essential." Let that be your compass. Do what's essential, remove what's not, honor your time as the ultimate act of self-respect. Because in the end, The way you spend your time is the way you spend your life. Principle 4. The value of focusing on yourself. In a world that constantly demands your attention, from social media to work deadlines, from other people's expectations to non-stop noise, there's something quietly revolutionary about turning inward and focusing on yourself. And let's be clear from the start, focusing on yourself is not selfish. In fact, it is one of the most powerful and responsible choices you can make, not only for your personal growth, but for how you show up in every relationship, every opportunity, and every moment of your life. Too many people confuse self-focus with self-centeredness, but they are entirely different things. Self-centeredness is about ignoring others to serve your ego. Self-focus is about understanding yourself so that you can grow with clarity, strength, and direction. When you focus on yourself, you take full responsibility for your energy, your choices, your time, and your development. You stop outsourcing your progress to circumstance or approval. You begin to craft a life that is intentionally aligned with who you are and who you want to become. So where do you begin? 1. Start with clear, personal goals. Self-focus starts with clarity. You can't build a meaningful life if you don't know what you're building. It's like trying to construct a house without a blueprint. The result? Scattered effort, constant distraction, and no sense of fulfillment. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? What values do I want to live by? What skills, habits, and routines will help me get there? Don't aim to copy someone else's definition of success. Define it for yourself. Make your goals specific, measurable, and aligned with your core values. And once those goals are set, defend them. Because here's the truth, life will constantly try to pull you away from your path. There will always be demands, distractions, and detours, but when you know what you're aiming for, you're far more likely to stay grounded. 2. Remove what's unnecessary. Focusing on yourself also means eliminating what doesn't serve you. Your time, energy, and attention are finite. If you spread them across too many unimportant things, you'll have nothing left for what truly matters. This is where the courage to let go becomes essential. Let go of relationships that drain you, habits that distract you, obligations that don't align with your goals, environments that stifle your growth. The Stoics taught that simplicity isn't just a lifestyle, it's a mindset. When you strip away the noise, you create room for focus, purpose, and inner peace. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Apply that same clarity to how you live your life. If it doesn't support your progress, let it go. 3. Adopt a lifelong learning mindset. The world is always changing. New challenges arise. Technologies evolve. Our goals shift. And the only way to remain sharp and adaptable is through constant learning. Self-focus thrives in curiosity. When you make learning a habit, whether it's reading books, listening to podcasts, taking courses, or reflecting deeply on your experiences, you keep your mind alive and alert. You become more equipped to navigate complexity and uncertainty. Lifelong learners are not those who know everything. They're those who are open to evolving. And when you grow your mind, you expand the possibilities of your life. 4. Stay consistent through discipline. There will be days when motivation runs dry. Days when you don't feel like working out, studying, writing, or doing the hard thing. This is where discipline takes over. Discipline is the quiet force behind every meaningful success story. It's not glamorous, and it doesn't shout for attention, but it shows up, again and again. Think of it this way: motivation is the spark, but discipline is the engine. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You only need to stay committed. Create systems that support your consistency. Schedule time for deep work. Set routines that prioritize your priorities. Keep your promises to yourself, even when no one's watching. Discipline builds self-trust, and the more you trust yourself, the more confidently you move through the world. 5. Say no without guilt. One of the most important skills you can develop on the path of self-focus is the ability to say no firmly, clearly, and without shame. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your priorities, you're saying no to something that does. Saying no isn't about being rigid or unkind. It's about protecting your energy. It's about ensuring that your time is spent on things that truly matter. You don't owe everyone access to your schedule, your attention, or your emotional energy. The more you practice saying no to distractions, noise, and low-value commitments, the more space you create for focus and growth. Let your yes mean something by reserving it for the things that genuinely align with your values. 6. Establish strong personal boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are the frameworks that help you thrive. A boundary is simply a line that defines where your responsibility ends and someone else's begins. It's a declaration of what you will and won't tolerate. It's a form of clarity that allows both you and others to operate from respect. Without boundaries, your time becomes everyone else's time. Your peace becomes negotiable. Your progress becomes dependent on external approval. But when you set boundaries, you protect your space for growth. You reclaim your emotional energy. You teach others how to treat you by showing how you treat yourself. Setting boundaries may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been conditioned to please others or avoid conflict. But discomfort is a small price to pay for self-respect. When you honor your limits, you send a powerful message: I value my growth enough to protect it. Blank. Blank. Focusing on yourself isn't isolation, it's elevation. This journey isn't about cutting yourself off from the world. It's about connecting to it more meaningfully, because you're showing up as your full, focused self. When you focus on yourself, you bring more clarity to your work. You bring more presence to your relationships. You bring more peace to your life. And from that place, you become more generous, more stable, more impactful. The most powerful version of you isn't the one who's everywhere, doing everything for everyone. It's the one who's grounded, purposeful, whole. So pause and ask yourself, what would my life look like if I truly focused on myself? What do I need to let go of to make space for my own growth? Where have I been saying yes when I needed to say no? Let your answers guide your next steps. Because the truth is, no one can build your life for you. No one else can walk your path, climb your mountain, or write your story. That responsibility and that privilege belongs to you. So focus on yourself, not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom, not out of ego, but out of purpose. Because when you do, you don't just change your life. You elevate it. Principle 5. Resilience through self-focus. Resilience isn't built in the calm, it's forged in the storm. And yet, so many of us seek strength in the wrong places. We chase perfection, hoping that if we can get everything just right, life will be smooth. We think resilience is about never falling. But Stoic wisdom teaches us the opposite. Resilience comes from falling and choosing to rise. Again and again. The Stoics didn't preach flawlessness. They understood that the human journey is filled with mistakes, delays, and unexpected detours. To expect perfection is to misunderstand life itself. But to embrace progress, even small, steady progress, is to unlock a strength that no failure can break. That shift in mindset is everything. When you move from perfectionism to progress, you stop asking yourself, "Why am I not there yet?" and start asking, "How far have I come today?" You stop fearing failure because you know it isn't the end, it's part of the path. And this change isn't just philosophical, it's practical. It builds what the Stoics called inner fortitude, the ability to withstand pressure, to adapt when life doesn't go to plan, and to find power in your own response to adversity. Let's break this down step by step. 1. Progress over perfection builds mental strength. Perfectionism is brittle. It demands flawless results and shatters when the world doesn't comply. Progress, however, is resilient. It celebrates effort, embraces imperfection, and keeps moving forward no matter what. When you focus on growth rather than flawlessness, you give yourself permission to be human. You allow yourself to learn, to evolve, to take small steps forward without the burden of unrealistic expectations. Every small effort becomes a building block. A 5-minute workout. 1 chapter of reading. 1 conversation that takes courage. These may seem insignificant, but stacked over time, they form unshakable strength. It's not the intensity, it's the consistency that transforms your life. Stoicism emphasizes that strength isn't about how fast you move, but how deeply you root yourself in discipline, reflection, and intentional action. 2. Failure is not the end, it's the doorway to growth. In modern society, failure is often seen as something to avoid at all costs. But the Stoics saw it differently. They believed failure was not a flaw in the process, it was the process. When you fail, you learn, you discover what doesn't work, you identify blind spots, you gain clarity, and if you choose to engage with that failure, rather than run from it, you emerge wiser and more prepared than before. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, obstacles aren't detours, they're invitations. Every challenge that blocks your path can also build your path if you choose to face it. Imagine a runner training for a marathon. On some days, they're sore, tired, and discouraged. They may miss their target pace or even skip a session. But if they keep showing up, adjusting their form, learning from their setbacks, they don't just become a better runner, they become more resilient, more focused, more capable. Apply that to your own life. Don't ask, how do I avoid failure? Ask, how can I grow from this? Because that's the essence of resilience, not avoiding pain, but learning how to turn pain into progress. 3. Flexibility is the foundation of sustainable growth. Rigid expectations often lead to frustration. When we demand that life go exactly as planned, any disruption feels like a disaster. But when we learn to adapt, to pivot with grace, we become truly resilient. The Stoics knew life was unpredictable. Wars, plagues, betrayal, loss, these were not rare events in their time. And yet, their wisdom endures because it teaches us to respond to chaos with calm. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, taught his students that while we can't control external events, we can always control how we respond. Flexibility is a mindset. It says, if the plan breaks, I'll adjust. If I fall, I'll stand differently. If I'm rejected, I'll redirect. When you stop resisting change and start flowing with it, you reduce suffering and increase growth. You stop needing certainty and begin building capability, and that's a superpower. Think of bamboo in a storm. Unlike rigid trees that snap, it bends and survives. That's the kind of strength Stoicism offers, soft on the outside, strong at the core. 4. Feedback is a tool, not an attack. Another secret to building resilience is learning how to handle feedback. Many people avoid feedback because they associate it with criticism or rejection. But feedback, when viewed through the lens of Stoic philosophy, is one of the most valuable tools for growth. It's a compass. It shows you where you're off course. It reveals what you can't see from your limited perspective. When someone gives you feedback, resist the urge to take it personally. Instead, ask, what can I learn from this? Does this align with my values and goals? How can I use this to improve? Not all feedback is useful, of course. But having the humility to listen and the discernment to evaluate builds emotional strength. It also sharpens your character. A Stoic doesn't run from discomfort, they embrace it as a teacher. 5. Self-focus is the anchor in every storm. The world will always have opinions. The conditions won't always be ideal. But when you focus on your own path, you create a center of gravity that holds you steady. Self-focus doesn't mean ignoring others, it means not being defined by them. It means asking, what is my purpose in this moment? What do I control? What can I improve within myself? By centering your attention on what's within your power, you protect your energy from being scattered across uncontrollable circumstances. This is what builds unshakable resilience, the kind that doesn't crumble under pressure but transforms adversity into advancement. 6. Progress, patience, and presence, the Stoic trio. As you continue on the path of self-growth, remember three things. Progress is more important than perfection. You don't have to take giant leaps every day. Just keep moving forward. Patience is your greatest ally. Growth isn't fast. It's often invisible for long stretches. But it's happening beneath the surface. Just like seeds planted in soil. You may not see results right away, but they're forming. Presence grounds you. It reminds you that the only moment you truly control is now. And what you do with now shapes everything that comes after. Resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, moment by moment, choice by choice. And when you anchor that resilience in self-focus, it becomes unbreakable. So don't chase the illusion of flawlessness. Chase truth, chase growth, chase the small daily victories that compound into transformation. Because when you do, setbacks lose their power, criticism sharpens your focus, obstacles become allies, and every step, no matter how slow, becomes a declaration of strength. Let Marcus Aurelius remind you, one more time. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Let that be your philosophy. Not to avoid challenge, but to meet it. Not to be perfect, but to become powerful through the practice of progress. Not to run from life, but to rise through it. Principle 6. Final motivational insights. In a world that never stops talking, there's something powerful, almost radical, about the one who chooses silence. The one who stays grounded. The one who doesn't race to prove, compete, or impress. The one who simply focuses. In our noisy society, where likes, opinions, and constant validation are currency, it's easy to assume that the loudest voice wins. But look closely. More often than not, the people making the greatest impact aren't those shouting the loudest. They're the ones walking their path with quiet determination. They are the ones who choose presence over performance, depth over display, focus over frenzy. This is the heart of Stoic wisdom. You do not need the world's recognition to live a meaningful life. You only need to align with your own values and keep moving forward, one clear, intentional step at a time. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you're making hundreds of decisions, tiny choices, seemingly small moments, and yet, these micro-decisions are the building blocks of your future. You decide whether to scroll or read, whether to react or reflect, whether to say yes to pressure or no in the name of peace, whether to move with purpose or drift with the crowd. And here's the truth. How you handle the small things determines the shape of the big things. Your future isn't shaped by one grand gesture. It's sculpted quietly through daily discipline, clarity, and intention. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor of Rome, understood this deeply. He didn't seek applause. He didn't crave popularity. His focus was inward. His mission? To live each day in accordance with nature and virtue. To master himself. And to rise, not for recognition, but for responsibility. He reminds us. Our life is what our thoughts make it. This isn't just a reminder of mental power, it's a challenge. A challenge to own our perspective, to guide our decisions, and to live for what matters most, not for applause, but for alignment. True success is silent. There's a story often told of a marathon runner who doesn't look at the competitors beside him. He doesn't check where others are on the track. He doesn't care who's watching or judging. His eyes are fixed on one thing: his own breath, his own feet, his own rhythm. He runs not to beat someone else's time, but to conquer himself. To go a little farther than he did yesterday. To keep moving, even when every muscle begs him to stop. And when he crosses the finish line, it's not the cheers that move him. It's the quiet pride of knowing that he stayed the course. This is the kind of success the Stoics spoke of. Not public glory, but personal growth. Not validation from others, but alignment with one's principles. To live like this takes courage, because the world will tempt you to compare. It will push you to chase approval. It will tell you that you're only worthy if you're winning in ways others can see. But Stoicism teaches, your worth is not up for debate. Your value is not on display. It is found in how you live when no one is watching. In how you make decisions when no one claps. In how you stay true to your path, even when no one understands it. The foundation: patience, discipline, and long-term focus. The personal journey, the one where you focus on your own growth, your own values, your own goals, is not a sprint. It is a long, winding path that demands endurance. Patience is what allows you to keep going even when progress is invisible. Discipline is what helps you show up on days when motivation disappears. Focus is what keeps you aligned when distractions call your name. There will be moments of doubt, days where you question whether it's worth it, times when the noise of the world feels deafening. But in those moments, come back to this: you are not here to live anyone else's life. You are here to build your own. Every act of discipline, no matter how small, is a brick laid in the foundation of your future. Every decision to say no to distraction is a declaration of self-respect. Every time you choose progress over comfort, you become a little stronger. And slowly, without fanfare, you evolve. Live according to your core values. There's a kind of power that comes from living according to your deepest values. It brings clarity when others are confused. It brings calm when chaos surrounds you. It brings confidence, not the kind that needs applause, but the kind that stands firm even in silence. When your actions match your beliefs, you no longer need to chase approval. You no longer need to outperform others, because you are already living in truth. Ask yourself, what do I stand for? What do I want to be remembered for? What matters most to me, not to society, not to my peers, but to me? When your life aligns with those answers, you become unshakable. You stop wasting energy on things you can't control. You stop leaking power into people's opinions. And you start investing that energy where it counts, into becoming who you were meant to be. A quiet, personal revolution. There's a beautiful metaphor in the life of a gardener. Day in and day out, he tends to his plants. He waters them, prunes them, protects them. He doesn't post about it. He doesn't shout about it. He just works quietly, faithfully. And for a long time, nothing seems to happen. But then, one day, The garden blooms, not for show, not for praise, but because it was cared for in silence. Your personal growth is that garden. The world may not see it yet, but every time you choose reflection over reaction, choose presence over pressure, choose your path over their opinions, you plant seeds that will blossom. Control what you can, release what you can't. The Stoics were clear. Much of life lies beyond our control. But how we respond, how we choose, how we think, how we act, is always ours. Don't waste your life on things outside your reach. The opinions of strangers, the expectations of society, the chaos of the world. Focus instead on what you can influence. Your mindset, your actions, your inner peace. Because that's where your power lives. And when you live from that place, you stop drifting, you begin to lead. You become the calm in the storm, the clarity in confusion, the example of what it means to live with purpose. You don't need to be seen, you need to be aligned. As we close this journey, remember, real growth is quiet, real mastery is humble, real power is often invisible. You don't need recognition to be great. You don't need applause to be fulfilled. You don't need a spotlight to shine. You only need to focus on what truly matters. Live in truth. Act with intention. Honor your time. Respect your path. Let the world be loud. Let others chase noise. You, stay grounded, stay focused, stay free. That is how you win, not just in the eyes of others, but in the eyes of your future self. You've just walked through 6 powerful Stoic principles, 6 timeless truths that, if embraced, will transform not only how you spend your time, but how you live your entire life. So now, take a breath, pause. Look at where you are, not with judgment, but with honesty. Are you giving your time to distractions, comparisons, and things beyond your control? Or are you investing it into growth, discipline, and the quiet creation of your best self? The truth is, most people will continue living on autopilot. They'll keep chasing attention, measuring their worth through others, and numbing their potential with noise. But you have a choice. You can choose to be the quiet presence in a chaotic world. The one who doesn't need to shout because your actions speak for you. The one who doesn't need permission to rise because your purpose has already called you forward. You can choose to live not by reaction, but by intention, not by fear, but by focus, not by the clock, but by character. Remember this. Every day is a blank page, and how you fill it determines the story you'll one day look back on. Let it be a story of inner strength. Let it be a story of self-mastery. Let it be a story of someone who dared to stop wasting time and started building a life that mattered. If this message spoke to you, if it stirred something deep inside, then don't let it fade. Click the like button, not just to support this content, but to affirm your own commitment to growth. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What resonated with you the most? What small step will you take today to focus on yourself more? Share this video with someone who's ready to stop drifting and start directing their life, because we all know someone who needs this reminder. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel if you're serious about transforming the way you think. Live and led, we release content rooted in ancient wisdom, modern clarity, and practical power, because your time is too valuable to waste on anything less. This isn't just another motivational video. It's an invitation to go deeper, think sharper, live wiser. So don't just watch, act, align, advance. Thank you for being here, for showing up for yourself, and for walking this path with us. Your journey is just beginning, and the next chapter is waiting. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay strong, stay present, and stay focused.